Mm.
What do you think is the biggest difference between how you left her and how you felt then versus honestly just how you're feeling now, knowing that that's going to be an adventure in the next 2 years?
So I feel like it's going to be a totally new adventure.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Obviously, when researching a real character, you could read all the books in the world. You can study every frame from old news footage. But what is something that you didn't truly understand or figure out about Trudy until you got in the water and started swimming?
I mean, to be honest, there was a lot to figure out that wasn't there anyway, because it just isn't that much about her. I had read the book Young Woman in the Sea. I had seen articles and clips, but there's not, when people go, oh, I read 6 books, and there just wasn't that available. So I did what I could, but I think understanding any athlete's determination and resilience, not that I'm in any way an athlete, but training for the film and then doing those swims is such a tiny portion of what long distance swimmers do and what Trudy did. It was remarkable because I was tired and scared and overwhelmed, and it was a tiny percentage of what Trudy did. So I think understanding really the scope of that swim, and I think the film beautifully shows how big it is. She was just this one person in this massive athletic trial. So the scope of it probably was harder for me to understand before I actually got in and was swimming next to the follow boat and in the big old open water.
I got winded walking to this Zoom interview, much less I can't even imagine. There's a really beautiful small moment in this movie that I really loved. And it's when the young girl comes up to Trudy and
Yeah.
says, I'm going to be a swimmer like you. I want to be like you. And it's a moment that shows the impact that she had, not just on the world, but specifically young girls and continues to have.
Yeah.
I'd imagine you have had a million similar moments like that with young girls. Do you remember a moment of interaction with a young fan specifically that meant a lot to you, kind of similar to the one in this movie?
Not the same, because I'm not real in those movies. So not in the same way, but I don't think I'll ever forget. I was once leaving an airport and there was a mum there with her little girl who was dressed like Rey. And I got down to take a picture with her and I felt her tiny arm come around my shoulders, and she was like just this tiny, precious little thing. Strangely enough, that's one of the ones that really lives strongly in my head. And it really honestly wasn't about me, but I felt like she felt safe with me. And that was, wonderful.
I love that. There are so many elements about the swim that I honestly never really would have considered. It's the currents and it's the weather and it's the
Yeah.
jellyfish and it's the jealousies of people on other boats, things that you
Yeah.
never would think would be a part of it. As you have progressed in Hollywood, what is an aspect of this profession, this world, that you never really expected or thought were going to be a thing, but maybe ended up being a much bigger factor than you expected?
Probably honestly a junket. Like when you don't know what it is to do interviews and things, it's so strange to describe what it is. So
Just the
honestly,
word.
yeah. So I did not know what that word meant. So probably that. But also, everything takes so much work. And I think being more involved now in terms of executive producing this and producing my own work, I think my awe is ever growing for people that are just making films full stop. Like, it's hard. It really is hard. Jerry and Chad and Joachim have been trying to make this for 10 years, and it's Jerry Bruckheimer. So I have so much more respect, and it continues to grow for people that just do it. So that's something that has been a lesson of understanding over the last 10 years.
I love that. I'm going to cut you loose on one nerdy question, if you don't mind. And I know that you can't tell me anything, but I would just love to know where your head is at in terms of Rey. We spoke not long after you wrapped Rise of Skywalker, actually when you were here in Chicago. What do you think is the biggest difference between how you left her and how you felt then versus honestly just how you're feeling now, knowing that that's going to be an adventure in the next 2 years?
When I left it, honestly, I had a period of mourning. I had worked with a lot of the same people on 3 films for a significant part of my 20s. So even aside from everything that Star Wars means, in a logistical way, spending that much time with people and then thinking, oh, there was a surety that I had in coming back to this and knowing where I was going to be. So that was sad, saying goodbye to the comfort of the familiar. And then over the past few years, a lot has changed for me. I've been able to do many different films, and personally I got married, and I'm coming in. I mean, I was 21 the first time around, so coming back to it 10 years later, so I feel like it's going to be a totally new adventure, and I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also enjoying this time right now where I'm in this wonderful film, and then I don't actually know what I'm doing next, and that's going to come at some point. But I've been working really hard the past few years and working on some amazing things. And I'm also just looking forward to a summer off before coming back to that. So the excitement is there, but I'm also looking forward to some rest.
My God, after this movie, if anyone has deserved it, it's you. Well, I'm excited to talk about that years from now, but just for now, thank you for this. I truly do love this movie. And I always tell people, we do junkets every day, and sometimes you just go, hey, it got made. Yeah, it's a movie, but this one is truly great. So I really do appreciate you making movies like this. So thank you very much. It was really good to see you.
You too.
Where we're going, we don't need roads.